Let's animate our short film! Hey everybody, welcome back. My name is Edwin Schaap, this is Jimmy, and today we're gonna animate a short film. Once upon a time, I was going around my business, cleaning my apartment, when by accident I found something very ancient, something very special. Old hard disk. I plugged it in and found an old project that I started back in 2011 that I had to put on hold because I had to do something more achievable for my graduation film. Then I got a job, life happened, 10 years passed, I got married, and eventually I forgot about it. But now I see it again. I think it's worth finishing. Back then I only started animating the first 5 shots, but now I would love to show you the whole progress while finishing the entire short film. Before I got to this animatic, I had to come up with a concept. It's been so long that I don't really remember how I got this idea, and I'd rather not spoil the story too much in this video, but I always try to keep it as simple as possible. So the concept of this short film is also pretty simple. Johnny, a little boy, is going on vacation with his dad, Phil. But his dad is kind of a workaholic and pays no attention. Until Johnny manages to grab his attention. Alright, so we have the concept, we have the story. Now we start to draw a storyboard. And draw all these pictures. I'd rather go for dirty and fast than beautiful, because I just want to get something fast and I want to see when it doesn't work. I want to be able to just swap it up. Because I don't want to feel like I'm killing my darlings when they're looking too beautiful. So I make it fast. And then eventually when I have a storyboard that works well with all the important beats, then I'm going to make an animatic out of that. So I put all the drawings behind each other and I start to get a sense of how long this will be. I'll try to cut as much as possible, keep it as to the point and simple as possible. For example, not come up with too many different angles of shots. I just really want to make sure that every camera angle in one scene is kind of facing the same way. It's just a close-up or a wide. But this way I don't have to come up with all these different backgrounds and keep it simple. So basically this whole short film has only like 3 backgrounds, which is the opening scene at the house, then we got the desert, and then we have the jungle. Alright, so I got it as efficient as possible, and now I want to print it out, hang it on the wall, and I still have 80 shots, so I still have a lot of work to do. And to get through this step by step, day by day, I like making boxes so I can tick it off, and those boxes show like the previous, blocking, animation, render, and eventually the final. But before I can animate anything, we need to create the characters. So back in 2011, this is the design I came up with for Johnny, and now we can start modeling it. So we have the nose, the face, the eyes, the hair, the hat, the clothes, the shoes. And now we have this. Let's give it textures. Alright, so this is how it looked back in 2011. But now, 10 years later, I wanted to have real hair. I want to do some upgrades. So here we go. Alright, that's better. Let's add in some joints. And now it's ready to animate. Alright, let's do the same for Phil. I actually did quite a lot of testing for his expressions, length of mustache and shaders, which not always worked out. But eventually I was happy with it, how it looks. And now we can start animating the previs. So when I'm prevising, I don't really go into detail yet. It's basically getting the first rough timings right, sketch out camera angles and see what's needed for each shot. And what's working or not. And then when I feel everything is working right, I start blocking, but I still keep it really rough because I can still change my mind on things, because I don't want to have wasted too much time on refining unnecessary things. Basically during blocking I just animate whatever I couldn't wait to do, and I just go until I am getting bored of it, and then I move to the next shot. So eventually when everything seems to settle, the timings and the blocking is more clear, this is when I add in the dialogue. And back in 2012 I already had Dave McGuinness doing the voice acting for the father, which was amazing, it was really cool. And now my nephew, well now actually it's been a few years now, because this is Milan now, and this is how Milan did the voice acting. So cute, he's a real movie star actually, because he also was in Odds as a baby. So I've got all this voice acting, I put it in there, and now I have all these giggles and things, so I can start to have more detail. But before I do, if you look at all the previs and the blocking until now, you see how the scenes are really empty, right? And I really want to make sure that the layout looks nice too. So in order to get the cameras right, we also need to know what's in the background. So before I do that, I just go outside, get away from my computer, and I start investigating my surroundings. For the opening scene, I can just walk around in my neighborhood, take in the views, and if there's a nice swing hanging from a tree, I use that for example, and for example this butterfly, I added it in because I bumped into one on the street. So it's really fun to get inspired by everything you see while you're doing your research. And the same goes for the other shots. So for example, this cliffside is all inspired by Yosemite, and it's also all from one angle. Sometimes I just take a screenshot from my previs and I just start drawing over in Photoshop how I want to design it. It's really fun to go through the stages and then work on it and improve it until you feel happy. But like I said, I really try to be as efficient as possible, so I really make it all for one angle. And for the jungle, for example, I kept it really simple. As you can see here, look at this. You have these super simple trees that are made from planes. We have the volumetric light to create a little bit of an atmosphere. And we have some grass. Really simple, but it looks really nice, right? So yeah, we got the designs. Now let's move back to the process of animating. Let's start from the beginning. So we get the animatic, and then we have the previs. And then we start blocking it out. And then I start animating it. And then eventually I polish it up. And then it's really nice to see it come together with the environment and render it out. And for the shots that are a little bit more challenging, I just shoot reference so I can help myself with to see how my body moves and how Phil's body should move. And yeah, I just keep animating and animating and animating. Make sure that everything works and nothing intersects, and I just polish things and I keep sculpting and sculpting until Jimmy tells me that the shot is approved. Lighting a short film is another thing. I try to be as efficient as possible, keep as little as lights as possible, trying to get the 3-point lights. Here you can see me play around to get the right lighting. Here you also see me kind of set dressing with the ivy on the background. And this shot was actually the shot that is most important. This was really the proof of concept shot. This was one of the first renders that I did, and eventually I just keep improving, give myself notes, and eventually we get to something nice. So I really put a lot of work in that, for as well as lighting and rendering, but also animation, which you can see in my Shortfilm Masterclass. But here you can see how the many stages, you can see how it improved after a while, and it's really satisfying to tick off those boxes while I'm working, because that's something that really keeps me going, to see this get filled up more and more. And while the animation gets more into detail and detail, I also try to get more details in my textures and renders, and because I now know what's going to be 4K on screen, so now I start to really improve everything that I see. And as you can see here, for example, I'm really trying to get a nice composition of the phone laying in the grass. And while I'm animating and rendering, everything goes through each other because I do whatever I feel like. I'm also doing effects, and here you can see, for example, how the camper does a 180, and so we have these skid marks and we have some smoke. So eventually I put that smoke in the compositing, which is the last stage of the making of the short film. And here you can see how I put everything together. So you see the cracks, you can see the skid marks, you can see the smoke adding in, and eventually it looks like this. Let's look at it from a different angle. So here you can see when he crashes into the wall, it's a little boring, so I want to add in the smoke as well. So here we go, add in the cracks on the window, add in more and more dust, add in some motion blur, and then eventually it looks like this. So for the shot when they're falling down the cliff, I have this really simple setup. For example, it's just a picture of Yosemite that I took when I was there. And then I just add in some rocks, light it, and then it's all blurry anyway, so I know that from the start, so I don't have to put too much effort in it. Add in the feeling as if we were passing wind or like smoke, like clouds. And yeah, so this is how I composite and put things together. And then eventually I can take that off as well as a final. Then it's time for two more things. First, the sound design, which once again is Ronnie van Overveld who does the sound design, which he always does a great job at, which sounds like this. And another way to enhance the scene is, of course, the music. So Alex Schaap did a really amazing job composing. He really made it interesting. Look at, for example, this scene. You can hear the foot foot in the music back. That's really awesome. Doesn't it sound beautiful? So while Alex is still perfecting his music, I'm fixing all my last shots, doing the last tweaks here and there, and eventually rendering my last two shots. And now we can finally tick off the last two shots. Here we go. Shoop, shoop, shoop. YouTube! It's done! After 13 years, I finally finished my short film. Now I can rip this off the wall. We are done. And now, please subscribe and hit the bell, because in a few weeks my short film is gonna come out and it's gonna appear here. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one.